Hey everyone, Bill Onorone here, Master of Wine. Just wanted to do a quick video today. Recently, in the past couple of weeks, I've been asked by several people actually how the wine industry is doing. So I kind of wanted to talk about the current state of the Washington wine industry. But I also want to I'm opened up a wine here, so I might as well talk about it. I do some consulting winemaking. I don't know if you can see this label. It's kind of a white the winery is Dossier, and this is their Sauvignon Blanc 2022. So I did make this wine. They're one of my consulting projects. Absolutely love Sauvignon Blanc. 90% of the time I drink red wines, but when I do drink whites, I love to drink Chardonnay, Riesling, Sauvignon Blancs, and Viognier, mostly from Condrieu. So this Sauvignon Blanc, absolutely riveting. Is 4 years old at this point, but there is no signs of oxidation or tertiary development on the nose. Absolutely beautiful nose of passion fruit to guava. There's a gooseberry type of elements, a little bit of herbal tones. Now, if you know your varietal signatures, what I just described to you is classic Sauvignon Blanc flavors. There's really nothing else it can be in the glass. So poured blind, I mean, I would think almost everybody would get this as Sauvignon Blanc just on the aromatics alone. And the palate, very crisp, high linear acidity. Just kind of refreshes that palate. A little bit of notes of lemongrass, ginger, this beautiful kind of satsuma peel, kind of tangerine type of peel, and then little hints of saffron on the back. A lot of minerality coming out at this point. Very linear, like I said, the acid on the palate, get a little bit of breath added in with that lees texture from batonnage. We did do batonnage every 2 weeks, kind of a labor of love on this wine. This was fermented in concrete, 60% in concrete, 40% in oak barriques and puncheons. Only 12% new French oak. There's a subtle kiss of oak on there and a little bit of spice tones, but nothing dramatic. The finish is excellent. It lasts for about 30 to 40 seconds, which kind of puts it in that, for me, in that, solidly in that 93, 95 point zone, assuming everything else is there. So the palette has a lot of interest, a lot of complexity. It doesn't quite have the super high levels of intensity and complexity I look for in wines that are rated in the upper 90s. But this wasn't meant to be. This is their entry level Sauvignon Blanc. I think it retails for approximately $35. And if you like Sauvignon Blanc, please check this out. I think for that price point, I don't know of anybody else making a better Sauvignon Blanc in the States. Also, we do a app. So if you're looking for that uber high-end experience for Sauvignon Blanc, for Dossier, we also do a wine called Halo Sauvignon Blanc, and that is kind of will deliver on that 99, 100 point type of spectrum in flavors and complexity and layering and all of that stuff. And that I forget the exact price of that, but roughly $100 or so per bottle. So significantly more expensive. But if you've never tried a Sauvignon Blanc that has completely blown your socks off, then maybe try one of the Halos from Dossier as well. Um, okay, so today drinking this, I'm solidly in that 94 point range. I've had this obviously numerous times. I made the wine, and there are times it drinks like a 95 point wine. Today it's showing like a solid 94. I need just a little bit more length for it to kind of get to that 95 point tier. Anyway, perhaps it's a little gauche rating your own wines, but I do it all the time when I taste them. Anyway, all right. So let's get on to the topic at hand, which is what is the current state of the Washington wine industry? Where are we at? I would love to give you some huge positive news, but I'm sorry I can't. The wine industry for the past 2-3 years kind of has been in a down cycle, and we don't see that getting any better for the next 2 years, 3 years. So unfortunately, that is where things are. Washington in a very real sense, kind of grew too quickly. We have approximately 1,000 or so wineries, give or take. And incidentally, just on a pure quality basis, about, I hate to say it, 600 or so of these wineries on a quality basis should not be in business. I mean, I know that sounds quite brutal to say, but they really are making very, very subpar wines. It's a bit of an embarrassment, I would say, honestly. If you followed my wines for Rasa, my winery that I started with my brother in 2007, and the various consulting projects I've done along the way, I think you know that we make wines that are in the upper end of the spectrum quality wise, and that's not by accident. I've studied everything there is to know about wine. Right, I've read every book possible, all the viticulture books, all the winemaking books. I stay current on the research papers, all of that stuff, because I absolutely love what I do, right? And you have to have that knowledge, that technical knowledge, that organic chemistry, microbiology, all of that stuff is very important. And then you need to be able to overlay it with some artistic sensibilities, right? This is great wine. It's not made by numbers. You have to have that artistic stamp on it to make it compelling. So you have to have a vision for where you want those wines to be. You have to equally put as much effort in developing your palate to be able to discriminate all of these fine things. How do you know you made a 95 point wine or a 98 point wine or something that perfect wine? If you haven't spent the time really honing your palate and getting better and better and better throughout the years, well, you're just kind of shooting in the dark. You'll never know you made anything great, and more often than not, you're not going to, right? So this is the problem. Most of the winemakers I meet, they don't put the time in, right? So yeah, you took one or two classes at the community college or whatever. Okay, wine largely makes itself, right? So stomp some grapes and it's going to turn into wine. That grape juice, something's going to start fermenting, right? But you really need to know how to control things and how to shape things and how to move things. So yes, you can technically make a wine, but is it going to be any good? Is it going to cause somebody to go, wow, what the heck did you do here? This is an amazing wine providing this amazing experience. So unfortunately, that doesn't happen that often. So 600 out of these 1,000 wineries, they could go away and no one would care, right? Honestly, their quality just stinks. So I hate to be so brutal and so blunt about it, but that is the reality. The only reason they stay in business for many of them is, sometimes they have a great marketing plan. I don't want to discount that. Sometimes they have great packaging, great label, great all of that stuff, and they're targeting their audience appropriately, might possibly have a beautiful venue where they're pouring the wines. I don't want to get into all of those things. Those things are important, but for me, I look at quality. I just like to, would I sit down and drink that bottle or any wines from this winery? Probably not. So I think 600 of them on a quality basis can exit. And these wineries that do kind of manage to stay in business and making really, really exceptionally mediocre stuff to bad stuff, honestly, they're just relying on the ignorance of the consumers, right? So unfortunately, our best consumers for Rasa, for Dossier, for my clients, we really like educated consumers, like folks that have spent time learning about wine, the process, taking some sensory stuff, because it is this consumers that we're making the wines, so then they can really appreciate all of the fine detail things that we're doing for the Rasa wines and the Dossier wines, right? But if you've never studied it, you might not be able to tell the difference between a $10 bottle and a $50 bottle or a $100 bottle. It's all going to taste the same to you. So if you've never honed your discriminatory skills, it's not going to matter, right? A $10 bottle will suffice. But for those of us, for the collectors out there, those serious wine aficionados that spend their time to learn about it, well, then they can appreciate all of these little things that we do. We don't take any shortcuts. That's not our mentality, and we'll go to any step necessary, even if it's going to give a small delta increase in quality. We're going to do it. So So 600 wineries can go, and then out of those roughly 400 or so wineries that are left, 300 of them are making just merely average wines, right? Average to good. And I just kind of use five different buckets, right? So you got kind of mass market wines that are just kind of poor quality to sub average, and then you got these average wines. Then you got good, very good, great, and then what I use, top tier. Right, top tier means that it's not going to get any better. You can look the world over, put them on the table with the world's greatest wines, and that wine's going to stack up. So now, as you start going up the quality scale, so another 300 wineries are just making kind of middle of the road wines, nothing to get excited about. Probably don't have a whole lot of faults or anything like that, but they're not going to wow you either. And then about 100 wineries in there are doing kind of very good tier wines that are delicious and enjoyable, but rarely do they get the excellent top tier ratings and wines at that level that are really you're gonna find compelling. And then you have maybe 25, 30 wines in wineries in Washington State that can consistently deliver on the great wines, very, very good to great level of wines, occasionally hitting kind of the excellent top tier type of wines. And then, there's only about 7, 8, maybe winemakers in the state that can have the skills to be able to make wines in the high 90s, right, or a perfect wine, 100-point wine, right? They're few and far between. And why is that? It is because it takes a lot of knowledge. Basically, you have to invest the time to learn absolutely everything you can about wine, about viticulture, about microbiology, about organic chemistry, all of this stuff that we use. And then on top of that, you've got to dedicate an enormous amount of time to your sensory skills. And this is where I think people kind of go wrong. So I can tell you all of the steps necessary to become a winemaker that makes it into the top 5%, if you will. I know I don't mind sharing it because I know most of you aren't ever going to do this. And I'll even tell you the go above and beyond to get you in the top 1%. So I'm not going to mention any names. I think me and my brother were in that top 1% category, in that 7 to 8 winemakers that I mentioned, that were consistently doing amazing stuff. It's not that every single wine is a 100-point wine. Sometimes we're limited by the overall quality that the vineyard gives us, but we always look to maximize those qualities. And more often than not, we're playing above 95 points and higher, and for the vast majority of our wines. So that's quite rare. So these other seven or so winemakers, like I said, I'm not going to mention names. I am friends personally with about 75 winemakers throughout the state, and I like to keep them as friends. So I'm not going to mention any names, but you can do some research and find who those winemakers are. So the main issue overall for the wine industry is that we're in this downturn. The average winery is the sales have slipped a bit. Somewhere we're down 10% to maybe 35% when I talk to my friends that are willing to share some data. So that's kind of where we are year over year. We're seeing this decline. And why is that? Is that it is basically, people that are my age and perhaps a little bit older. I'm 58. That have been collecting for a while, have full cellars, so they're also getting older. They're not going to buy wines that need to be cellared for 20 years. The runway in front of us is rather short than behind us, right? So they're kind of slowing down sometimes for health reasons. All of these things are coming into play, and where are the replacement drinkers coming from, right? So I've got a bunch of nephews and nieces in that 20 to 30-year-old zone. And we've been exposing them to wine, so our nieces and nephews are drinking wine, but overall, there are the vast minority. All of their friends don't drink wines. They're opting for whatever marijuana and marijuana adjuncts, things like that. The seltzers, and there's a huge movement among the 20 to 30-year-olds. This teetotaler movement. And as bizarre as it sounds to me, that's a thing. So they haven't taken up wine yet to any meaningful degree. and this is causing problems. So what do I see in the next 18 to 24, maybe 30 months? We're in for some pain as an industry for Washington. So a lot of wineries that are making just mediocre type of things that we're going to see, and even possibly some that are making really nice wines are going to struggle. Depends how cash flow rich they are, how much debts they owe. All of that stuff is going to come into play. So we're going to see a fair amount of wineries that are going to fold. Right? I don't see any other way out of this. Right? It's not going to magically fix itself overnight. So, but it is not all bad. Right? There is hopefully these things kind of come in cycles in this 12-year type of cycle, maybe perhaps a little longer. But this one seems to be dragging out a bit. The downturn cycles definitely seems to be dragging out a bit. Where are the replacement drinkers going to come from? So we're kind of for Rasa, for my winery, we're cutting back production a little bit. Instead of doing 70, 80 tons like we used to do, we're going to scale that back. To maybe 20, 30 tons, that type of thing for a year or two. We have several, we age our wines in bottle as well. So we have several vintages that we have not released yet. So we're going to play it a little bit cautious for the next couple vintages until things get substantially better again. But yeah, so we just want to be safe rather than sorry and have to shut down or anything like that. We don't see that happening, but I see a lot of my winery friends just totally stressed out. Where are the drinkers, wine drinkers going to come from? Their business is down 20%, 25%. Wine club attrition has been happening. Not a lot of people are signing up for new wine clubs. Economically, things aren't amazing. People are kind of stressed out with the economy, inflation. All of these factors are kind of playing into it. And I think similar things are happening in California and in Oregon as well. So I think things will get better. I think we have a bit of a pain point to go through that will probably last 2 years, hopefully not more than 3 more years, and then we'll have to reassess things. So in the meantime, I would say as a drinker, you should be seeking out the wineries that are making the better, higher level tier of wines. There's no reason to be drinking wines that are just mediocre or even less than mediocre when there are plenty of other good choices available. So to me, I always look at everything through a quality lens. I'm a bit of a wine geek that way. I tend to drink wines that have convey some seriousness, some depth, that have interest in terms of layering and complexity. Very much like a good friend that has lived a lot, has interesting perspectives on life, interesting things to say and talk about, and has lived a bit. So wine is really no different. What is that story that wine is telling you, right? Is it I don't drink just to get buzzed or anything like that. Not that I didn't do that when I was younger, but now I don't. It's more about that enjoyment and that artistry. So I would, for those of you that are consumers, please train your palate a little bit. It's kind of fun. You need to drink more wines and assess things critically, and slowly over time you'll get better and better and better at that ability. But it needs to be a kind of a measured thing that you do. Okay, so I've kind of talked enough about this, and that's my 2 cents on the wine industry in Washington State. If you have any questions, please post them in the comments below. I'm happy to answer anything. I don't really have anything to hide. You can ask me anything about the wine industry. I'll tell it to you straight up. And that's it. I've got a few more videos I will record later this week and post them as well. I hope you're doing well. Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.